Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog, which is going to be mostly about coronavirus. But first, I want to give you this short item. I cite it as an example of how nice it is to have a strong president, which we definitely have in Trump, no matter what you think about him. Otherwise, he is a strong president. Can't deny it. I'll read you this tweet here. I better set it up first. The oil companies have been suffering because the price of oil has gone down a great deal. As you all probably know, anytime you've gone to the gas station to fill up your tank. Where I am, I've seen gas at around $1.70 a gallon, even less. That's good for consumers, but it's not good for the oil companies and ultimately for the country if the price of oil goes down so low that it puts our frackers and our oil companies out of business. We just went through this whole problem. Well, we're going through it now with China, with medical supplies and precursors being manufactured in China. We see the harm that that has caused us. It's led to calls to bring back manufacturing from China so as not to depend on China for vital materials. But that also applies to oil. Do we want to be dependent on the Saudis again, let alone the Russians? Do we want to be dependent on them for oil? So what Trump is doing, it's the right thing. Let me read the tweet to you. Just spoke to my friend, MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi crown prince, who spoke with President Putin of Russia, and I expect and hope that they will be cutting back approximately 10 million barrels, and maybe substantially more, which, if it happens, will be great for the oil and gas industry. That's 10 million barrels a day, by the way. What I understand has happened. If you saw the coronavirus briefing the other day, yesterday, he was asked about it, and yesterday for me is Wednesday. Today is Thursday, you're seeing this on Friday. But at that briefing, he was asked about it. Trump was asked about it. He said that he didn't want to say anything, but my understanding is that he had threatened to put tariffs on foreign oil. That seems to have gotten them off the dime, similarly to the way that we got Mexico to do something about immigration by Trump's threatening to put tariffs on Mexican imports. So the threat of tariffs works, that's obvious, but I can't imagine Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton threatening something like that. It's really, or just about any other president, really, that's unique to Trump, I think, and it's good. Now we get on to coronavirus. Here's the headline. More than 1,000 in U.S. die in a single day from coronavirus, doubling the worst daily death toll of the flu. The U.S. topped 1,000 coronavirus deaths in a single day. For the first time Wednesday, a daily death toll more than double that of two of America's most deadly illnesses, lung cancer and the flu. That's bad enough, but here is the really important and potentially distressing part that you really have to pay attention to, because this is a point that people are missing, that reporters are missing. Some researchers say the daily death toll could more than double to 2,200 or more by mid-April. That figure would eclipse heart disease, the nation's #1 killer, with about 1,772 deaths per day, according to the CDC, Center for Disease Control. What is important about this, what people are not talking about, even in this article, they are comparing the overall number of deaths to the number of deaths per day of other illnesses. But the most important part, the potentially very distressing part that does not get emphasized enough, is not the more than doubling to 2,200 or more, but the doubling to 2,200 or more by mid-April. I'm recording this at the very beginning of April, so we're talking about in 2 weeks a doubling in 2 weeks. Just do the math in your head. If that rate keeps up, then in another 2 weeks we go from 2,200 to 4,400, and then in another 2 weeks to 8,800, and you can see how the numbers go really dramatically higher in a very short time. And that's if we stick to the 2-week time frame, because what often happens, and this is why it is so important to maintain this social distancing, to follow all of the guidelines that we're getting from the federal government, because what if the rate of doubling increases? In other words, what if we have a doubling after every 1 week, after every 3 days? Do you see how this can really get out of control? What if in 2 days we have a doubling from 100,000 to 200,000, and then in 2 more days a doubling from 200,000 to 400,000? That is the really important part that, as I said, is not being emphasized enough. It needs to be emphasized when Trump and Drs. Fauci and Birx get on the stage for the daily briefing, which again I recommend everybody watch. They have regularly been happening around 5 o'clock every day to get the latest, but they should mention that number, that rate of doubling, to further drive home that it is absolutely essential to observe these guidelines, because once you have a really significant doubling of, say, 100,000 to 200,000, then what does it matter if we slow down the rate once we get to, say, 200,000, that it takes, well, let's say a whole month to go from 200,000 to 400,000, and another 2 months to go from 400,000 to 800,000. Do you see how it can really get out of control if we don't stop this as soon as possible? I wish I could end on a happier note. Unfortunately, I cannot. I can only say thumbs up if you like this video, and especially for this video, share it with anybody you think would benefit from the video, to emphasize how important it is to observe these guidelines. You can also put any comments you might have in the comment section below the video, and suggestions for future topics. I would love to get more subscribers, so subscribe. And finally, come back and see me again, hopefully with better news. And until I do see all of you again, bye.